Hello, I'm Scott Huddleston, Chief Executive Officer with Jenson USA. Jenson USA has been in business for over 30 years. We're one of the largest online sellers of bicycle parts, gear, and accessories in the United States, primarily focusing on mountain bikes, but also a strong presence with road cycling as well as gravel. As mentioned, we've been in business for over 30 years. We're primarily an online business, although we started placing ads in magazines when our founder started the business, and then transitioned to e-commerce roughly 25 years ago. And today, we do 90% of our business online, primarily are a direct-to-consumer company. We offer over 40,000 SKUs to our consumers. We try to have a pretty deep and broad selection for our consumers so they can fix their bikes and get back on the trail or on the road, whatever they'd like to enjoy. And on an annual basis, we send several hundred thousands packages to our customers and make transactions on our website. The key thing about Jenson, one of our number one core values, customers are everything, show them the love. And we know that our consumers are passionate about riding and getting outside and getting on their bike and riding. And so it's critical that we stock all the best parts and even some of the random parts that they may not, most shops won't carry, in order to make sure that they have the right products so they can get on the road or on the trail and deliver it on time and also at a good price. So we started working with LMA and Lisa Anderson. We were introduced to Lisa as a result of promoting somebody internally to lead our operations. We had a longstanding individual that retired from the company that was in charge of operations and had pretty extensive experience both in operating warehouses as well as managing shipping. The nice thing is that we found a qualified candidate within the company and promoted. He'd been with the company for more than 10 years, and we thought that he had a great opportunity to fulfill that leadership role for operations within Jenson USA. However, as we talked about it internally, we wanted to make sure that this individual had the correct support and that he was set up for success, given some shortfalls in some of the knowledge that he had around managing operations, as well as individuals, including myself and the executive team, did not know all the ins and outs of operations. So as a result, we pursued some external help in the form of consultants to evaluate how we currently operate and identify opportunities, and then work side by side with our new director of operations to make sure that he was successful. So after going through a process of talking to a few consultants, we ended up selecting LMA, in large part as a result of Lisa Anderson and Diane Garcia coming into our office, and appreciated their approach and how they went about things. But then also that they were just real people. They were easy to engage with and talk with. And so we felt comfortable signing a 6-month engagement with them. So as part of that engagement, what was included was a number of different areas that we worked through over the last 6 months, including efficiency of just over our overall process and procedures as it pertains to receiving inventory, storing it, inventory control, shipping the product. And then what's unique to Jenson versus a lot of direct-to-consumer businesses was we actually have a bike build part of our division. And every bike that we sell, we actually take out of the manufacturer's box, assemble, test ride, QA, make sure that it's ready for the consumer to ride when they receive it. So that was also included in the engagement. Another big component that we wanted them to help us with is just the overall budgeting and planning process, particularly as it pertains to labor cost and how best to forecast and project what those would be and manage labor cost on an ongoing basis. As part of that, we also wanted to review our reporting and tracking of performance and issues that we were seeing within the operations area, as well as key decisions and data that was provided by other departments within the organization to support operations. Wanted to make sure that that was in a good place. Another component was our overall capacity planning. So as mentioned in the introduction, we carry over 40,000 SKUs. And as you can imagine, we frequently come into capacity constraints as a result of carrying so many SKUs and so much inventory. And so we wanted them to help us come up with some options and how to think differently about how we manage the inventory that we have in the building, and also how we could support future growth of inventory as the Jenson USA business continues to grow. And then the last component that was included within the scope was a review of our overall freight rates. So as mentioned, it was great to meet with Lisa and Diane prior to the engagement. They came in and met with us. It was a 6-month engagement, although they put in more than 6 months, which I appreciated. They did a lot of pre-work in the month of December to make sure they could hit the ground running in January, and then they wrapped up towards the end of June. So they met as part of the process with our director of operations, as well as his direct reports, and a number of functional leaders across the organization, including myself. The first area that Lisa and Diane started to look into is just how we do business, how we operate within the operations and warehouse area, and reviewing our process and procedures. So they took a in-depth review of our receiving process, what we do if there's products that are received without the necessary information to get it in an inventory, what the process was to resolve that. Also, how best to store inventory, where to store it based on sell-through. It's kind of the 80-20 rule with our inventory, and that 20% of our inventory drives 80% of the volume. And so for efficiencies of picking, we want to make sure that the inventory is as close to the packing stations as possible. And then also just kind of the overall inventory control and auditing of the inventory that we have in place. Another area, as mentioned previously, bike build is a big component of our business, and so they also did a review of the process that we have in place to do that. So Lisa and Diane partner with our director of operations to, again, identify where our inventory is and where best to house it based on sell-through, and trying to get fast movers closer to the packing stations and slow movers away from that. And secondarily, they also did a lot of work in the cases where we have a lot of fast mover inventory. We may not be able to put it in all A locations at one point in time. So they also did a pretty deep review of the replenishment process to pull more of that inventory into the fast moving locations to ease picking. They also did a great job, not only partnering internally across the organization, but working with our third-party Microsoft D365 agency that does a lot of programming. And so they work closely with them to outline requirements in order to improve reporting and improve functionally how we manage operations within the warehouse. So it was great that they, number one, had knowledge of Microsoft D365, and then also had the ability to develop the rapport and work with our third-party agency to have them support us and get additional work done. So that was a real benefit to having Lisa and Diane in the building. Is not only do they understand our operations overall in a warehouse environment, but we're also very familiar with Microsoft D365. So another area that I asked Lisa and Diane to focus on is just our overall budgeting and planning process. Despite being in business for over 30 years, we don't have a strong discipline in how we develop regular budgets and forecasts in terms of the interactions between the merchandising and the receiving and operations team. So they reviewed kind of the process that we have in place, including how we do budgets initially, but then also how we do ongoing forecast. Looked at the information that was available from the merchandising replenishment departments, how much of that information was shared with the operations team on a regular basis, and came up with proposals on how to better improve the forecasting process by including expected inbound inventory, sales forecast, as well as the reforecasting process that we go through on a monthly basis. They also work very closely with our controller, and again, reviewing how we do our budgeting on a regular basis, but also understanding the financial implications of any changes that are made to the forecast and how that impacts our overall labor budgets and labor forecast. So another area that Lisa and Diane went pretty deep on is just our overall reporting and tracking of performance, and where there was opportunities to improve visibility. So people spent less time creating reports and more time analyzing the reports and determining what the appropriate actions are. So they work closely not only with our operations team and merchandising team, but also our business intelligence associate to build out a lot of automated reports that we didn't have previously within our reporting tools, or in the case where we did have the reports but didn't provide enough adequate information to make decisions, help design and build those reports out again. Given everybody's busy and has a lot of priorities, again, it was great that Lisa and Diane had the rapport that they could work with not only people on the business side, but also the business intelligent individual to explain what the goal was and what was trying to be achieved. And as a result of that rapport, was able to get a lot of new reports generated, which have been helpful. So it has already resulted in less time spent on creating reports and more time analyzing issues and variances and where we need to go deep in order to improve processes or hold people more accountable. Given that we're a large business and we try to serve most of our customers' needs, we have over 40,000 SKUs that we carry and offer on our website. Capacity continues to be an ongoing conversation we have in terms of utilizing the space that we have at our disposal. We certainly have a lot of locations. When we started this process, we had somewhere around 35,000 locations in the warehouse, and some of those locations actually had to serve double duty to house the additional SKUs above and beyond the 35,000. Our director of operations had some ideas, was doing some work on creating some additional space. And then Lisa and Diane came in as well and provided some additional thoughts and ideas just within the existing footprint that we had. How we could increase the amount of storage locations that we have. So we currently have close to 50,000 locations due to the efforts of our new director of operations, as well as Lisa and Diane providing input. They spent a lot of time, they being LMA, understanding how our current process works, how we store items, where we store items, how we have them, the fast movers towards the front, towards the packing stations, versus where we hold replenishable stock and back stock and inventory. So spent a lot of time, again, to try to not only help us increase the number of locations, but us also optimize the storage of the inventory that we carry. The nice thing in our building that we actually have vertical area that in a lot of cases isn't occupied. And so they identified an opportunity to create additional storage opportunities using that vertical space in order to increase the number of storage locations that we have available in the warehouse. And then on top of that, they actually developed an ROI model that we're using in order to justify the incremental capital spend. So one of the biggest expenses on a direct-to-consumer income statement, besides the cost of the product, is actually shipping the product to the customers. So we have a number of carriers that we utilize, and we're always looking at opportunities to optimize that expense while not sacrificing our delivery commitment to our customers. When we discussed this with Lisa and Diane, they had a third party, and in a few other cases, they actually had what I'll call a Rolodex of people that they could look to outside of their organization to assist in challenging areas such as freight out. So one of those areas that they did end up bringing an expert in to do an evaluation of our shipping expense. That individual did a pretty deep dive of not only what our current contracts are with the carriers that we have, but also looked at actual expenses that were coming through, including accessorial charges, and did a pretty in-depth analysis to identify an opportunity to save $100,000 or more as a result of renegotiating our contracts with our carriers. So overall, pretty large scope of work that Lisa and Diane worked with us over 6+ months. The great thing is they acted as partners. From my experience in business for a number of years, I don't like to view consultants as vendors. I prefer to think of them as partners and expect that they're behaving the same way towards us. And that's really how the working relationship was with Lisa and Diane. They're very professional, but at the same time, very approachable. They have unique skills that not everybody has, in that they present themselves in such a way that people want to help them, as opposed to feeling like they have to help them as a part of their overall jobs. So they did a great job just developing that rapport with different functional areas. And as you can imagine, everybody's busy. Everybody's got a long list of things to do, and despite that, they were able to get a lot accomplished working with each of the individuals. And then for myself specifically, they were willing to meet with me bi-weekly to provide me an update on things where they were going, what was working well, what the work was, what's coming up, where there were issues. As you can imagine, anytime you bring people in and you try to set up those individuals with access to your systems, there can be complications. Again, they were very patient with our IT team to ensure that they had access to the systems and applications they need to do the work and the evaluation of our overall business. So just the overall process and working with them, they were very engaging, worked great with each of the individuals. And if anything, kudos to them that I never got an email or a individual conversation from somebody is man, LMA is driving me crazy. They're always bugging me. So that's just a credit to them in terms of how they worked and how they approached and managed the relationship with the people they worked with internally. Lastly, would like to say thanks to Lisa and Diane for devoting their time in overall evaluating our operations and our performance, and also working really closely with our director of operations. Shout out to our director of operations. It was encouraging to hear direct feedback from Lisa and Diane that we hired the right person, that he's engaged, that he's excited, he's smart, and they're helping him fill in the blanks. So as a result, kind of a happy ending with the hiring of our director of operations, but also in working with LMA to help make improvements in terms of how we operate, how we do business, and how we become more efficient in order to better serve our customers.